Hello everybody, it's Dylan from YuGiOh Everything, and welcome to a quick little YuGiOh VRains discussion. I guess you can call it a mini theory, but I don't like to title videos theories unless it's like a concrete theory, and I think this is maybe more of a mixture of a discussion and a theory video. I will actually have a formal theory video maybe tomorrow, definitely some point this week. We were getting the episode 8 cast list tomorrow. I will have a Q&A out, maybe even a top 10. So it will be a very fun, exciting week trying to make up for the void because, again, there is no YuGiOh VRains episode this week. They're doing a music festival instead, and YuGiOh VRains episode 8 will air July 5th. So anyway, enough about the VRains uploading schedule. I do believe that there was a very subtle thing that occurred in one of the more recent episodes of VRains that confirms to me, almost confirms, I'm not going to say I'm 100% confirmed on it, and I really want to talk to you guys about this, and hopefully you guys will leave your thoughts about it down below, that pendulum summonings and the whole pendulum mechanics do not exist in this YuGiOh VRains world at the moment. And I say at the moment because I'll go over some ways that maybe that will change in future episodes. But before we get to that, I'm just going to tell you guys what happened. So I was going back and I rewatched episodes 4, 5, 6, and 7. I was just bored on one night. I had like 2 hours to kill. And so I hooked it up to my HDTV and was just rewatching the old episodes. I was like, oh, there's no episode this week, so I might as well just rewatch some of the older ones and see if I noticed anything, which I did with Arc 5 a lot. And I've done with, honestly, all the shows. Really, usually whenever there is a week break like this, I'll watch like the last 5 episodes or so. And I noticed in episode 6, when Yusaku goes into the Duel Club and he has a brief conversation with Aoi, he has a conversation with Naoki and the leader of the Duel Club, when they sit down, this is towards the end of the scene, and I will show you guys an image and kind of the video of it right here. But keep in mind, this is the Duel Club. This isn't a regular classroom. This is the club that has the most high-tech duel discs, thanks to Aoi's brother Akira. This is a club that literally is all about the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, that will know everything there is to know about the card game. And I noticed the board that they showed us. They talked about the master duels and the speed duels, and you can see they cut off the 2 extra back 5 row, the magic and trap zones, because in speed duels you can only have 3, and in the monsters zones you only have 4 instead of 5 and 5 in your master duels, in your pre-link format, I guess you can call it. But I noticed one thing. I'll show you guys on screen right now the official kind of board for Yu-Gi-Oh! And in every single board that I've seen, you always have the pendulum markers on because now the pendulum zones don't exist anymore, so it makes sense for pendulum zones not to be on this board, but still, the pendulum symbol is on every dueling board that I have seen post-links. So the fact that there are no pendulum symbols in this scene on the right and the leftmost sides of the back 5 spell and trap zones, that is enough to tell me that pendulums, they don't even bring it up, because pendulums in speed duels, you'd imagine, probably aren't even a thing. I mean, you only have 4 cards, and it would just be, to me, not really my place to say, because again, the card game, as I've said many times, not really my area of expertise. But if you start with 4 cards and you use 2 to set the scales, you only have 1 zone to play magic and trap cards, and you can only summon 2 monsters that are left in your hand, unless you do it way later and you get some draw power. But it just seems to be pendulums are impossible to play, at least from my point of view. And speed duels, again, not really my place to say. If you guys want to comment on that down below, I'm interested to hear that point of view. But to me, the pendulum zones would be cut off in speed duels. They don't even mention it. The head of the Duel Club, again, it's not just a regular classroom. This is a Duel Club, doesn't even bring up pendulums. There's no symbols. There's no pendulum symbols on the board itself. And so to me, pendulum summoning at this point is non-existent in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, which is a bit of a letdown, because I would have, not only do I want to see all the summoning methods, but everyone said pendulums and synchros. Those were the 2 that got the worst affected by the link format. So I would have liked to see a duelist utilize pendulums, maybe not as their main method, but like a backup method, or utilize synchros. It didn't even have to be Yusaku. If Yusaku only uses links the whole time, I'm actually kind of okay with that. Maybe uses a fusion, because we've always seen a fusion, not necessarily from the protagonist, but I wouldn't mind seeing him maybe fuse. But for him to not use synchros, XZs, or pendulums, I'm fine with that. But if another duelist, like that was their main method of summoning, or their backup method, I think that would have been really cool. This, to me, though, confirms, at the moment, we will not be seeing pendulums in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains. probably at all. The way it could change is maybe they just made an editing error and they forgot to include the 2 pendulum links, or the 2 pendulum markers on the back row. I know it's kind of stupid to think they would make an editing error like that, but it happens. It honestly happens, and I guess it would be an honest mistake. Another way it could change is if they do an arc 50, 100 episodes from now in which invaders, kind of like Iliaster, come to their timeline and bring pendulum summoning along with maybe the other summoning methods. I know we've seen Zodiac Hammer Kong, which is an Xyz monster, in the first episode, but just to remind you guys, in Zexal, we did see a Dark Tuner. We saw a Synchro Monster in the preview of the first episode. The Synchro Monster, I believe, was cut, but they left in the Dark Tuner. So the Dark Tuner was probably left in, a lot of people speculate, including myself, maybe due to an error. But we saw a Dark Tuner, so based on that logic, we should have seen Synchros in Zexal. We obviously did not. So it's just not enough to convince me that, oh, well, we saw Hammer Kong. Xyz monsters are definitely going to be in VRains. I'm still skeptical on all the summoning methods, honestly, and this just increases my skepticism on pendulums to a point where maybe I won't bet like $100, you know, anyone right now, I'll bet $100 pendulums won't show up. I'm not that confident, but I'm like 95% sure that we will probably not see pendulums unless one of those 2 scenarios happen, that it was just an editing mistake, because again, every board I've seen has the pendulum markers on the board, and the fact that the Duel Club, a very technological Duel Club, does not show those pendulum markers, does not make any mention of it when those zones seemingly get split off for the speed duels. That, to me, when I was rewatching, I was like, oh, wait a second. I gotta talk to, I gotta mention that, because that's something I have not heard anyone bring up in any of my comment section. Maybe someone has commented it and I've just missed it again. I do get a good amount of comments, and as you know, I do read probably like 80-85%, and I try to reply to as many as possible, but there always are a few that just get sent to spam. I have over 2,000 comments in spam, and a lot of them aren't even spam, but I just never check that folder, so if it goes there, it goes there, and YouTube is just very wonky. So maybe someone has commented it, maybe it's been brought up on Tumblr or Twitter, and I haven't seen it. Again, I'm not everywhere. I'm not on Tumblr at all. I have no presence on Tumblr, so it was just something that I found interesting, that I really did want to bring to you guys, to your guys' attention, to get your take on it. And I would have loved to see how pendulums worked in a link system, and I'm sure people will make competitive pendulum decks. Well, I'm actually not sure, because everyone has said pendulums and synchros, those are the 2 that really, really got hit with links. It would have just been cool to see them utilized in the anime, but this is enough to convince me very, very heavily that we will not be seeing pendulum summoning in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains. What does that mean from the timeline? There's 2 different ways I see it. Again, this is why I'm waiting to make the timeline, because if in 100 episodes some duelist randomly uses pendulums, and I made the timeline like right now, because I have a solid idea. That's why I kind of made a teaser theory about the timeline. I have a solid idea where Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains might fall on the timeline. But if I make an official timeline right now, and then pendulums and synchros and Xyz, and they make up some new method at like episode 120, then all of a sudden I have to make another timeline. But at the same time, I don't want to wait that long to make a part 2. So I'm in a bit of a conundrum there, I guess you can call it. There's 2 ways I see this happening. One, Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains is before Arc 5. It's canon to Arc 5, but it's before Arc 5. I don't see that being the case, because then why are links not in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5? So I guess there's 3 options. That's the first one that I highly, highly doubt, because then again, part of me really thinks that all the shows being canon are a little crazy. Yes, I do believe it. I wouldn't have made the timeline that way if I didn't believe it, but I know it's a huge stretch, and you can really say anything you want about the timeline, and you're not right or wrong, because we're probably never going to have a concrete answer. The other way is that this is a different timeline than Arc 5. It's different canon. It's not related to Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 at all. Or it's after Arc 5, and because of all the craziness that happened with pendulums, with Zark, with the worlds being separated, with the genocide in Heartland, because of all of that, in 50, 60 years from Arc 5's ending period, they decided to destroy all pendulums. They outlawed all pendulums, and pendulum summoning, while it was a thing 50, 60 years ago, is no longer a thing. It's outlawed everywhere. That's an interesting, I guess, food for thought, but I don't know if I really believe that. That is a bit, I don't want to say fanficky, but I mean, it would be kind of cool, honestly, if that was the route that they went, because then it means that VRains is a sequel to Arc 5, and again, I do love continuity. I just highly doubt it, but I'm just trying to throw all possibilities out there. So you guys let me know all your thoughts on this. Are you as convinced as me. I know there were a lot of people who said before the show even started, pendulums definitely are not going to be in the show, and it looks like the people that said that, I do believe. I do believe I would be very, very surprised if we saw pendulum summoning in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains. But you guys, again, let me know all your thoughts down below. I will talk to you in the comment section. Tomorrow we have the episode 8 cast list. I go on vacation on Sunday, so keep in mind I will not be around for the episode 9 review, but I'll announce that a little more in the cast list analysis tomorrow. A formal theory, a potential top 10, an anime versus manga, that got delayed, but hopefully that will be out soon. Maybe I'll pre-upload that and then it'll come out while I'm on vacation. And a Q&A video. All of those are slated to come out in the next week or so. Very exciting week for the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing day. And as always, thank you for watching.
Yeah.